everyone. So I'm Michelle Hoskin, and I am absolutely delighted to be joined today by Tim Horrocks from RockWealth. Now, Tim and I have agreed to have a little chat to share some of the stories and some of the insights into RockWealth, because they're doing some amazing things. We have been so lucky to have them as a client of ours for several years now, and to watch them on that journey of growth has been absolutely so rewarding for us and actually remarkable to see. So I thought I'd get Tim on to ask him a few questions so he can share some insights into RockWealth, what they're doing, what they're up to, and what makes RockWealth quite special, because I know I also agree that they are. So Tim, thank you very much for having some time with me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, that's all right. So tell us a little bit about you, your role, and tell us a little bit more about RockWealth.
Okay, so I founded RockWealth the 9 years, almost to the day actually. It was kind of July 2013. I think we've come a long way since then. So started off just myself. There are now 5 financial planners based in our Cheltenham office, and we've got 7 offices throughout the UK. So pretty pleased with how things have grown in that period of time.
So tell me about, so tell us, because I mean, that is incredible effort. Like, I mean, I remember, I mean, I've said this to you, and I've said this to our team. I remember having those very early conversations with you. And honestly, I mean, I'm definitely up there with we can do anything if we put our mind to it. And I remember sitting there going, he's off his head. Like, his plans are crazy. Like, he's going to kill himself. But here we are in 2022, and you've absolutely smashed it. So I feel like I'm eating humble pie a little bit, because at the time I was thinking, God, he's going to kill himself. But you haven't, right? So tell me a bit about sort of that journey, because I don't want to just sort of like skate over it. I really want to sort of pick out some of the key points in that journey. So talk to me a little bit about that.
So yeah, beyond starting, I suppose the next kind of key part in the journey was my partner here, Mark Vale, joined about 2.5, 3 years kind of in, and that was kind of one of the key moments really. That's when our investment philosophy got really kind of ironed out. We were definitely from there on in an evidence-based philosophy company, and that kind of drives everything there. We kind of agreed on fair fees, trying to get fixed fees in place for clients, which was a journey in itself. How do you do that? Relatively straightforward for an initial advice fees, relatively complicated for ongoing. So I think that probably took us about 5 years. So I think nail that, or certainly get it covered and get it built into our proposition. So that was a key point. My brother Matthew then joined a year later, so there were up to 3 of us here in Cheltenham. Really kind of grew the business then over the next few years. Then it was the opportunities that kind of arose from that became the national side, the network side of RockWealth. So that was meeting people along the way, working with Robin Powell, Regis Media, who did a great job for us in us communicating our investment philosophy to clients, because that was one thing. What is your investment philosophy, but how do you communicate it? And that's relatively difficult. But we took inspiration from Robin's great work of a good documentary, if you haven't seen it, by IFA.com in the States, Mark Hebner. Great documentary called 12-Step Recovery Process for Active Investors. We thought that was fantastic. Great way of telling clients why they should avoid active management, really, and why they should do what we advocate. So we thought, well, we need something like this so we can communicate with our clients, and it's not us just telling them. It's leading experts, people who've got no vested interest, telling people what you should do, what you shouldn't, and why. So that was kind of a key point with the growth, was client communication. So we've carried on along the journey there, making sure we produce regular content, communicate to clients. So what's the investment philosophy? And then, around that, behavioral issues, at the moment, the state of the world at the moment, the economy and what's going on, client communication is massively key. How to keep people in their seats and make sure they make sensible decisions. So we've got a lot of material there to use with clients now to help them. Behavioral coaching is a huge part of our value add. So that's really important. And then, we've kind of gradually grown that advice network over the years. So we haven't kind of gone nuts and done it all in one go. It's been a gradual organic process, and we've learned along the way. And I think we're now very well established and set up to help support new businesses join it.
And you know, I'll pick up on the word, a couple of things that you said. You know, you said the word national.
Mhm.
So where does that come from in you? Like, you know, why not just kind of grow RockWealth as a kind of as a sole business? Why that national approach? Where did that come from in you?
I think this comes down to the investment documentary as well. We've got this great resource of explaining, you know, why clients should invest their money in a certain way to benefit them. Our job is, you know, our clients pay us to help them. You think, well, there's only so many people we can influence or benefit in our own locality. I am of the belief that proper financial planning should be delivered in person. I mean, it seems great, but you need to meet with people. You need to sit down with people at least, you know, once every couple of years. I mean, COVID taught us that, you know, you can kind of get away with it for a period of time, but personal relationships are really important. So how can we help as many people as possible? Our clients are only ever really going to be within a relatively tight geographic area. Maybe we've got clients scattered around a little bit, but you know, that's on the fringes. So actually we could use this resource to help a lot more people. And also we can kind of spread those costs, frankly. So if there's one firm paying for this material, it's relatively expensive. But if we're joining forces and working collaboratively, because we all believe in the same thing, it makes it easier to produce high quality content and to continue doing it to help more clients. So it's a win-win, really.
And I suppose in my language, it was like go large or go home. Is kind of, you know, if and I agree with you, like if there's so much amazing stuff sitting in some of these firms, it's almost like, you know, you don't want it to be the best kept secret. And actually you're almost doing an injustice to consumers, to potential clients, if you don't spread those wings further afield. So I get it. I mean, I think the growth that you've achieved in such a short space of time is incredible. And obviously, you know, we'll come back to that, because obviously I know the firms, you know, the businesses that have joined you, and you know, their view of it, so we can pick up on that. So that's awesome. So tell me about your role specifically. Like what do you spend most of your days doing? You know, are you still seeing clients? Are you predominantly business owner? You know, what is your time? Where is your time spent?
Yes, it's relatively split now. I'm still very much a financial planner, so I think it's important that I do the job that, you know, is the job. You know, understands, you know, the pitfalls and the technology we use and the conversations we need to have with clients and the concerns that clients have and generally how things work. So I still look after clients. I've reduced that a little bit. You know, I've got now more support here in Charlton, another fantastic financial planner. Ed joined us at the end of last year, so he's helping support my clients. So that's really, really good. And it means I'm able to spend a bit more time on development of the network side of things. Yeah, but still very much a financial planner. I think I would always do that, frankly. It's the part that I really enjoy.
Well, and also you're right, you know, your point at the beginning is it's almost keeping you on the coalface, isn't it? And I think when you have conversations with those that are interested, you know, for whatever reason in joining RockWealth as a sort of a satellite office business, it's quite nice for them to have that conversation with you, because you actually know what they're also going through. You know?
Indeed, and you know, they're business owners in their own rights, and they're financial planners. So I'm the same. We're working in collaboration. It's not, you know, it's not anyone working for us. It's working in collaboration and understanding the same pressures that you have with working with clients and also running a business. They're kind of two separate things, really.
Yeah, I agree, and I get it totally. I mean, we're going to come on to sort of people and sort of expansion, but you know, obviously one of the things that we've always worked together, and I remember the very first time we initially engaged, and I remember, you know, meeting up with you at one of the, I think it was the PFS conference, and you know, we obviously, you know, part of our proposition as a business, and those that we clearly connect with, you know, over and better over others, is those that are striving for something quite remarkable, you know, and that drive is this piece around excellence. You know, one thing that's always struck me about you guys as a collective is, if you're going to do something, you put your mind to it and you do it well. So, you know, obviously, we know I talk about excellence and standards all the time, but, you know, you've recently gone through a process of really elevating the business in terms of its operations, its practices. So tell me a little bit about what drove that. And I suppose, you know, what does excellence mean to you? Because if anyone's listening to this going, well, that sounds all right, and I quite like the sound of it, I think it's really important to get right to the nitty gritty as to that bit that's your belief, you know, when it comes to, if you're going to do it properly. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I'd say it's all driven around client outcomes, really. I think you end up with an excellent business if the priority is client outcomes, which is where we focus everything on. So, the fact we have a low cost evidence-based investment philosophy. Why do we do that? Because we think it's the best thing for the clients. Why do we offer fixed fees? Because we think it's the best thing for the clients. Why do we use cash flow planning, proper financial planning? Because that's giving the most value to clients. So if you focus everything around the client, actually everything else kind of naturally flows from that. So, why do we want to invest in sort of the technology and make sure our back office system integrates with everything else? Because it's going to help the client. Ultimately, it's going to make things more efficient. Clients can be looked after better. Why do we want to spend time looking at suitability reports and ongoing suitability reports? We want to make sure they're better for clients, and that just drives your excellence, and also that leads to ultimately a successful, profitable business.
So in terms of, I agree with that, and it's like, so you take that sort of that ethos of our client outcomes, in terms of the level of excellence. What do you, if I was an employee of RockWealth, and I was either an employee employed by RockWealth, or I was looking at rolling my business into RockWealth, what expectations do you have of me as an individual? Like, what do I have to have in my kickback, in my outlook, and in my sort of mantra for me to be the right fit for RockWealth? What's your standards and expectations from me?
So it has to start with client outcomes again. So the client outcomes are, first and foremost. Then it leads from that, and we find that most people who have a similar kind of philosophy for us have got there because they've got that in mind to start with. So if people have gone through the time to actually investigate, lower cost, investment portfolios, why are they better? The vast majority of time for the clients, they've done that because they care about the client outcomes. It's easy just to buy into the mainstream and use DFMs or normal model portfolio services because it's easy. I mean, none of us are investment managers as financial planners, frankly. But if you spend the time to think, well, what is the optimal outcome for clients, then that's because you care about the clients. If you've got a general belief in fixed fees, it's because you care about the clients. Ultimately, and I find that those things drive everything else. So if people are coming to us, it's normally because investment philosophy or fee philosophy are aligned. That's how they've come across us. So that's a really good starting point. It's a really good filter. I think, if anyone came to us and they don't believe in that, and they believe in, high cost active, we're probably never going to be the right fit, because certainly in my view, they haven't really taken the time to think about what's best for clients.
Yeah. And do you think that's the same for the likes of Ed? So obviously Ed didn't join you like some of the others did, but what would Ed say? What if I said to Ed, what does RockWealth expect from you? Why are you aligned to RockWealth? But you took out of the equation the investment philosophy and the pricing. What is it about Ed that makes Ed part of that RockWealth culture? Tell me about that.
I think it's his actual drive for excellence. I think very, very detailed, very thorough. Make sure that every kind of report, client communication actually tells the client what they need to know. And that kind of focus on that, I've been really, really impressed with. Because looking at the suitability report, thinking, well, if a client's reading this, do they understand what my advice is, why it's of benefit to them, and any kind of detriments? It's really clear, really kind of forefront in our advice. And I think that's the thing that stands out.
So Tim, obviously I've known you for a really, really long time, and we've obviously worked together, and we've had a look at under the bonnet in your business. And we've really got an essence of kind of how you work. And one of the things that's always struck me is your drive to achieve what you've set your mind to, but also the ballsiness of it. So I suppose what I'm interested in is, outside of the culture of, fixed fees and your evidence-based approach to investments and your client-centered sort of journey, tell me a little bit more about kind of what makes up RockWealth outside of the more sort of standard client-focused stuff. Tell me a bit about that.
Okay, so I think we're disruptive, for sure. We're trying to do things differently. There are other great firms out there following a similar, philosophy, if you like, investment philosophy, fee philosophy, believe in financial planning. I think what's sets us apart really is we're trying to deliver that nationally, but not ourselves. So no one thinking, well, we're going to employ someone in Manchester, Birmingham, London, Edinburgh, Cardiff. We're thinking, well, how do we support people setting up their own businesses, which I think what makes us really different, actually. It's recognizing we can't do ourselves, but there's benefits in us helping others do it. That's not really necessarily a monetary benefit either. Doing this isn't a massively profitable exercise for us. It's not about us making a quick buck. It's about allowing us to help better outcomes across the country, which helps us as well, because we're getting that scale. So some of the things that clients like about dealing with big firms is the fact they're big firms. It's simple as that. There's not really any extra protection for them there, but they feel like there is.
Yeah.
So it helps us in terms of a marketing sense. Really, it's a bigger, stronger brand, gives clients more reassurance, and allows us to do more. Frankly, we're all kind of contributing to a common budget. We can do more.
Yeah. And so talk to me about, and I'm going to reverse out of this question because I have another question I want to ask. But if so, with your 7 officers, how do those 7 officers kind of work together? What's the relationship like between those individuals in those locations? Is it collaborative? Is it, well, these are my clients, they're your clients? How does that? How do you make sure that culture is solid?
So first of all, every business owns its own clients. We don't own other businesses' clients. They're ring fenced. They're their clients. What we're trying to do is share resource and expertise. So absolutely, it's collaborative. We're sharing knowledge. So as standard these days, you have a WhatsApp group. So we've got an advisor WhatsApp group. So questions need to be asked. Whether it's financial planning or something else. We've got a group conversation. We tried to get together a couple of times a year. So we did that in, I think it was May. May went to Dimensional offices. Everyone's coming to Cheltenham in September. We'll do online training courses together as well. So we try and use opportunities to get together, and also sharing that experience of running a business as well. It's useful to speak to other like-minded people who are doing the same thing. And when you're doing the same job, but you're also following the same process, the same structure, you've even got more benefit adds to each other. How do you use a particular bit of software, or where's a particular document kept, or all that stuff. We're following exactly the same process. So the client journey is the same, whether they're seeing me here, or Lloyd in Aberdeen, or Stephen in Brighton. It's the same journey, same process. So then we can enhance that for clients going forward. If someone has a great idea, we can deploy that across all offices.
Yeah, because there's some really cracking stuff floating around, isn't there? Like, if you can deploy over 7 locations, and you're all going to different events and networking events and meetings, and to bring all that back to each other, because it can be quite lonely, I think. And I think I like what you're doing, because you're actually creating, I mean, I would call it a tribe, but you're creating that wonderful community to bring people together. And obviously, I've had conversations with Lloyd, and my team have had conversations with your other advisors, and there is definitely that something that they all share, which is really lovely. And it's interesting, because this might sound a little bit weird, but in all of them, there's that little bit of Tim, and I think what that is that little bit of RockWealth, and you can see it. You can see it. I got the feedback from the assessors that, your induction process, which is what I want to talk about next, like this onboarding process of those advisors that want to come and join RockWealth to work collaboratively with you. It's almost like there's been things that have been stitched into them, and that's quite a job to achieve, right? That's well done on your part, because it's not easy, because they're experienced in their role, they've got lots of habits, they've got a lot of beliefs from previous lives, effectively. So I think that's definitely been seen in what we have seen in the advisors. But tell me about, so if I was particularly not really sure where I'm at in my journey as a financial planner, I've got some clients, I'm feeling a bit isolated, what would you say to me if you could have me eyeball to eyeball in terms of bringing me into what you're trying to do? What would your message to me be?
I'd let you know how we can help you. So what we really facilitate is giving you a financial planning business in a box, if you like. You can go and be an awesome financial planner from day one, and you've got all the philosophy which you agree with us, which is why we're having the conversation start with, you believe in the investment philosophy, you believe in the fee philosophy, and we're just going in the same direction as each other. We're helping each other get there much faster. And that's from my own experience of working on my own for 5 years. No one really wants to work on their own for a long period of time. So you want other people around you. So even if that is you kind of working day to day on your own, just setting up a business, at least you have got a group around you, a community, a tribe, if you like, in your words there, Michelle, that can support you. And we can help you grow the business in the same way that, I grew the business here. So it's passing that knowledge on.
Yeah.
Really. I suppose it's a little bit of mentorship there.
Yeah.
To an extent, so how I did it, mistakes I made, how I've learned from them, and where we've got to, we're kind of giving that to you straight away. And frankly, that's the BS 8577 process as well.
Yeah.
It was painful to start with. It was a lot of hard work, but it's really delivered a lot of benefits to us, and we've then been able to pass that on to these guys as well. So if you're starting a business today, you've got that. We've done the hard work. We've done the legwork. Can it get better? Yes, for sure. It can always get better. But we've got years and years of experience and hard work put in there, from everything, reports to documents, policies, procedures, structure, fee, investment philosophy, website, client communication. It's there. It's done. You can get on with your job and being a great financial planner.
So on that, and we'll come back to the standards and the BS 8577 in a second. But so what would my journey be? So let's imagine, from that process, I go, oh my God, this is definitely where I want to go. What's my sort of next steps? What's that next part of that journey look like for me as an advisor? Like Lloyd, for example. I know Lloyd joined you. What was that journey for the likes of Lloyd and others? After I think we need to do this, Tim. What happens then? Talk me through that.
Yeah, so after we need to do this is, that starts with some conversations. Normally it's a Zoom meeting, and then it's a meeting in person. Then we'll use an HR consultancy to have a conversation, again, kind of agree an outside third party thinking, yeah, you guys are aligned. It's going to be, a good relationship going forward. And then it's the beginning of, legals, getting that in place, getting FCA permissions, regulations ready. It's getting a website up and running, which we do as part of the process. It's getting your business stationery, business cards all done, which again is part of the process. So day one, you're kind of ready to start, and we've also gone through an induction process. COVID's kind of made that harder over the last couple of years, but certainly initially it was spending a couple of days here in Cheltenham going through the client journey, so our onboarding process with clients, so the financial planning process, if you like. Everything's heavily agendaed, and that's not to say that we read off a script, but things are scripted, and it's adapting it to your own style and the client who's in front of you. But by having a structure in place, it just makes the very beneficial, efficient, timely meetings. You're not spending 2 hours waffling, writing just notes on a piece of paper. You've got a structure in place. It flows. You know where you're going. Client has a real sense of professionalism coming out of it as well, and that leads to other meetings then. So the next meeting has got a structure, agenda. Your ongoing meeting's got a structure, an agenda, which adapt on an ongoing basis. So it's going through that with advisors, making sure they're confident in delivering to clients, because that's the primary role. And then it's, well, how do we use technology? What is the technology? So it's kind of individual bits of training.
Great. And now I'm going to pick up on a point, because actually before we hit record earlier, we picked up on it, but you almost alluded to the fact that you're building what you would have joined, and I think that's really, really, and probably for me the most important point in this whole conversation is that you're building what you wanted to see and what you would have joined if you weren't you and you were on the other hand. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's why I founded RockWealth, because I couldn't find the firm I wanted to join. I mean, it wouldn't be as, it wasn't that I thought one day, oh, great, I'm just going to set up this business and we're going to do that. It was more of a case of necessity. Frankly, it was, well, what other options are there? I've worked in bank insurance. I've been, worked through a network. I've worked at a directly authorized firm. I've worked for SJP as a partner. I thought, well, I have all these things. None of them are really the right kind of fit. So you know what, I'm going to kind of start the process of the firm that I would have joined, and I set it up as a partnership initially, even though it was just myself, because I thought I don't want to do this on my own. Actually, I do want other people to come in and help grow the business and develop it and make it bigger along the way, and that's what's happened. So that was the part of outset that was absolute, was that it needs to be bigger and it needs to be more than me. It was never Tim Horrocks and Co for that reason. It was RockWealth, because it's not about a person, it's about the business, and I think that's what we've done. That's what we'll carry on doing.
And yeah, and I think it's also a great point in that, you know, when you, because, you know, I chat to planners and businesses all the time, and they have no idea where they're going, like no idea at all. They have sort of a vision, and that vision often starts with, I think I'm going to do it better than where I'm at, and that's pretty much what starts them to have their own business. But you know, I ran a whole WOW workshop yesterday, and you know, most of the people on there, advisors who own businesses, have got no vision. They've got no 10-year plan. Are you pretty much bang on plan from that vision you had when you started? Pretty much. Are you, if we'd have gone back and, you know, read your journals from, you know, when you started, is this the outcome of that vision? Or are we running true to form?
We're beyond it, and I still have those notes. You know, that journal. I sat there while I was putting my children to bed when they were, you know, tiny babies, making notes on my iPhone, and I've still got those notes, and it's nice to occasionally look back and thinking that was my idea then. Wow, you know, it's kind of moved beyond that, and I still do that. You know, I still make notes when I have ideas, kind of just sketching things out where we're going. But yeah, it's beyond it. It's definitely beyond it, and the whole idea of kind of a national kind of network of firms, that's probably only, you know, 5 years old in terms of philosophy, and it feels like you're kind of just getting going there. I think you hit a tipping point where, again, same with kind of starting a business, you go through a learning curve. Starting this national network of, you know, partner firms, we've just hit that tipping point now. I think we've done it. They're established, successful businesses. We've learned all the mistakes and all the good stuff. We're kind of ready to really push on with that and get some more great firms to, again, deliver better outcomes to more clients and benefit us all as a collective. Again, it's economies of scale.
So it's a growth plan now, and I want to end on that, because I think that's kind of what does the future hold for RockWealth. But, you know, you mentioned there, you know, very kindly, you mentioned the British standard and the certification process. I suppose I've got two questions related to that. Obviously, I talk about standards and bang that drum all the time, so, you know, sometimes I think no one's listening to me, but, you know, I keep banging it. You know, what was that initial spur for you to actually not just do what you felt was the right thing to do, but actually seek that external input in the form of a standard, in which, well, obviously this is how we come to be together in the first place, and then, you know, what benefits have you seen? Because I think one of the things that I struggle with is to really get the message across to firms that don't have standards like this, why they're so important. And they'll say to me, well, of course you're going to say that, because you're effectively selling them to me. And I'm like, yeah, but even if I didn't have them to sell them to you, I would say this. So two things, you know, what prompted you to go down that path? The benefit that it's brought to RockWealth, and I suppose third part of that question is, you know, what would you say to somebody that's like, you know, I'm just going to carry on running my financial planning business as I am? You know, what would you say? What would your answers be to those questions?
Sure. So the first point was almost like a business consultancy service, I guess. You know, we just really started being a partnership, myself and Mark, rather than just me. So it was, well, let's look at where we are at the moment. What have we got in place? You know, I felt like there was a good body of work there. We'd done, you know, quite a lot. We kind of knew what we were doing. We were experienced financial planners, advisors. We've been doing it for years. But let's have someone else take a look at it and highlight any holes, what we're not doing, what we're missing. And I suppose that was quite eye-opening, because you think you've got it. Yeah. And then you get the feedback of, you're missing this, and you think, oh, crikey, that's actually quite a lot of work, isn't it? So that already was a good sort of 6 months of just a lot of work to get a bit of, you know, get a lot of structure in place. But the key bits of that really were the client journey, the client experience. It was, well, how is that repeatable? How are you delivering the same thing every time, making sure there is a standard? You know, that's the whole thing about a British standard, is having a standard that you set to, and it's the same across the board. And it means that your consistency of delivery of advice as well. I know that if I see a client or any other, you know, financial planner and sort of RockWealth umbrella sees a client, they can have a very, very similar experience. You know, you might have slightly different, you know, small talk, or, you know, how certain things are said or delivered, or how you just interact with clients generally, but it's going to be a really, really similar structure. The clients can have a very similar advice recommendation based on their circumstances, because we believe in the same kind of things. The pricing is going to be very, very similar, because, hey, we're delivering the same thing. So overall, it's going to be similar to clients. And I often say to them, you know, if I'm hit by the, you know, proverbial bus, or meteorite comes and strikes the office, or whatever happens, if it's not me looking after you anymore, you're going to have the same experience if it's, you know, Matt or Mark or Ed or Dan here, or, you know, frankly, if all of us are wiped out and it's one of the other guys in another office looking after our clients now, it's just going to be really, really similar. And I think that's important. I don't think you can have, frankly, more than one advisor in a business if you're doing different things, let alone 12, 14, 15, 25 advisors doing their own thing. You just can't do that.
Well, you wouldn't have been able to build RockWealth the way that you had without that confidence in that consistency, and obviously having then somebody, you know, us check that consistency across that group. I mean, that surely that helps you sleep better at night, no? I mean, it's... yeah.
I mean, you know, if I kind of forget the financial planning part of my brain and think compliance side of what I'm doing, it's massively important that I know that client outcomes are going to be good. They just are. You know, there's no doubt in my mind that any kind of bad advice is being given ever, because we're following the same philosophy, process. It's just a much better process for the business to have in place. And also, you know, it was transformation in terms of, you know, actually client acquisition as well. You just get better at your job because you're doing the same thing time and time again. You're learning from your own kind of mistakes of maybe how you delivered something or pitched or answered the question. You're getting better at it, and it's just massively helpful. So, you know, British Standards did help accelerate the growth of the business, but you know, for absolute sure. You know, and a big part of that, you know, evidence, I suppose, is that brother Matthew joined just as we'd completed our BSA 577 process. So all this kind of structure, meeting agenda, kind of scripting was in place. You know, from someone, you know, starting off with 0 clients and growing, he's done, you know, phenomenally well, amazingly well, and, you know, got some really, really good clients, really high conversion rates. You know, it's just massively impressive. You know, what the point he had got to within 3 years is kind of probably beyond where most people get into in their lifetimes of advising clients. So yeah, really, really effective.
I'd also say, because I wasn't really going to mention it because I didn't think it come up, but it has. But I think, you know, obviously working with your brother, you know, your brothers working together in a business, and, you know, that's almost danger zone anyway, isn't it? Like in terms of family, you know, ruckuses and discussions and differences of opinion. But I think, and I suppose this is like a loaded question really, but, you know, I suppose when you have a framework like the standards or any consistency that's agreed within a business like RockWealth, it almost takes the personal out of it. It's like, well, this is not me deciding that this is a thing. Actually, this is the RockWealth way. So if you don't like it, it's not my fault. It's just the way that it's done here. So do you think that has helped, having those structures, not just BS 8577, but, you know, almost having those structures in place almost takes away the, you know, it's my decision over your decision, well, I think my way is the best way. Do you think it's removed some of that challenge at that level?
I think, yeah, the kind of any level really. So, you know, whoever in the business, you know, partners, other businesses, I think you kind of all agreeing on the same philosophy, same delivery. Like I said, it's not a discussion. It's not, you know, this is how, you know, it's just how it's done. It's just how it's done. You're agreeing a standard process. That's how it's delivered. It's not, it's nice and clean. I think that'd be good for any business, whether, you know, a business just, you know, an owner at the top and lots of employees underneath, or a business where you've got multiple owners and no employees. It's really important to have that standard process, procedure, client journey. That consistency comes across. It's just, everything else is relatively simple.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, you know, some of these benefits, you don't know them until they're there. I can't sell benefits in all the time because I don't actually know what the benefits are all going to be. So it's really lovely to have these conversations. So I think things that I think I want to get across to those listening is, you know, RockWealth is a pretty special business. It's not your run of the mill IFA, even financial planning business. It's got something quite special inside of it. And I think that's its people, that's its processes, that's the way that it approaches, you know, its plans for growth. So I think, you know, Tim and I was talking before we hit the record button, that, you know, the doors of RockWealth are always open in terms of, you know, if you're an advisor that's currently, you know, a bit out of sorts, unhappy, you know, not sure of your next move, a bit lonely, and you believe in those same values that Tim's talked about, I think it's definitely worth having a conversation, you know, picking up the phone and obviously you can get Tim's details from the notes on this video, but, you know, reach out. And equally, you know, if they are as good as they say they are, and they are across the board, you know, we need team members, we need people to support the advisors, whether it be a paraplanner, whether it be administrators, client service support, that will help these advisors and these planners within RockWealth really accelerate that growth. Because, you know, success is not going to be, you know, something that doesn't happen. It's almost a given. So that growth is part of the plan, not just for RockWealth, but for the individual businesses within it, right? So we need, you know, we need great people who share that sort of that extra special something. So I think, you know, I think from my perspective, you know, I said to Tim earlier, you know, I get lots of CVs land in my inbox from individuals saying, you know, I want to work for some of your firms, like, you know, are any of your, you know, certified, you know, clients, are they recruiting? And the CV's flying all over the place, because, you know, it saves a lot on recruitment fees and a lot of aggro if you can bring somebody to the party that shares those values off from the get-go, right? So my final question, my closing question is, you know, what does the future hold for RockWealth? Like, you know, what are you most excited about in terms of the next steps of the journey for RockWealth? And, you know, what's around the corner? Because I think, you know, there's got to be that something that bounces you out of bed every morning. And it's, you know, that passion and that enthusiasm clearly for what you've built and what you're doing, you know, comes across in, you know, tenfold, right? So what's next on the horizon for RockWealth?
I'm really excited to see the growth of the businesses we've helped set up in the last few years. They're all still relatively embryonic, but growing really fast. I mean, I've seen the sort of turnover just be amazing in early years. You know, guys in Leamington, Owen and Chris have already taken on a member of staff within the first kind of, you know, 12 months of operation, which is unbelievable. I know some of the other guys are, you know, sort of the growth point where they need to start thinking about, you know, either administrative support or other advisors, which is brilliant. Be great to see a few more offices opened as well, kind of particularly in your kind of part of the world, Michelle, in the southeast, where we've got a bit of a hole there. So it'd be great to just help some more businesses start up and see the ones we've already helped set up can continue to grow as well. So I'm really excited to see where that goes to in the next kind of, you know, 3 to 5 years. So I think there's a great opportunity there.
Well, I think definitely, I think one of the next steps for us for RockWealth is, you know, I was obviously waiting to have this conversation, but, you know, we've been doing, you know, which actually it's almost another level on top of what you're already going for. But, you know, we're dealing with a lot of firms at the moment who are looking either to retire, you know, in the next 10 years, which I know is still a very, very long run in, but they've already got the standards in their businesses. So to buy into what you're doing and already have many of those procedures and structures already in place to lay them in is like flipping, it's amazing. It's like double bubble, isn't it? It's the double win, right? So I think, you know, from my perspective, you know, I wanted to have this conversation because, you know, we've got an amazing group of clients, and some of them, you know, they are looking for that next move because some of them are a bit disgruntled where they are or what network they're part of. And I think there is huge opportunity. So I was kind of hanging on for that. So I think growth, you know, of your businesses within the business, I think is a great thing to be excited about, right? So I'm, you know, I'm delighted to be able to support you in any way that we can going forward. You know, you're part of our family. So, you know, even though I've had a coughing fit halfway through, which will of course be edited from this video, nobody will see it. You know, it's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. And you know, and I know you don't need it, but I'm super proud of what you've achieved as a business, you know, even though I thought you were absolutely off your head at the beginning of this journey. I was like, he's crazy, but, you know, I'm super pleased. I am really, really, really proud of you. So it's been amazing to see you on that journey. So yes, obviously we'll get this, you know, for anyone that's watching, you know, Tim's a great guy to reach out to. I'm sure, you know, he'll always welcome an opportunity to have a conversation with you in terms of what your next move might be. And Tim, just to say thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the very best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I've really enjoyed it.